Alright. Welcome back to my attic. Since the last video, when I was putting in some other paneling back there, I've gotten the framing all done for partition, and I'm not a great framer, but it's going to hold some switches and thermostat, 36-inch door. It took a little bit of algebra and trigonometry to frame that. Well, this whole project has been algebra and trigonometry because it's definitely not good carpentry skills and woodworking skills on my part. So it's only by my math that I managed to get by on what I can do with the carpentry. But anyway, this is a big day because that partition is about ready to start getting faced up on either side by pine, tongue and groove. It's going to get insulation. So this is the last time you'll be able to be in the southern side of my attic and look all the way across at the northern side of the attic. I'm going to be putting that partition up there. So it's pretty exciting. I thought I would take a minute now. This is a little bit on pause because I need to run a sub panel, probably a 60 amp sub panel, so I can do baseboard heat and different circuits for the lights and all, and things I have to do for the upstairs of the house. So I have a few more outlets to put in, but electricity's on pause. I'm going to be doing that, and I thought it was a nice day to just stop for a minute and do a couple things. First of all, I have kind of a vision of what the studio end of the attic's going to look like. So I'm going to stop for a second for hopefully a little musical montage that'll show if you're in the studio looking back at the doorway, or if you're in the studio looking across where I hope to have a nice stereo setup, or if you are looking back towards the far gable end where my desk will be. So I'm no artist, but hopefully those pictures do some justice to what I hope happens back there. Because now that I'm getting that to kind of like a room, I'm getting really inspired and thinking about like, where do those shelves have to go, where will the speakers go, how will I hang acoustic treatment and stuff like that. But anyway, the other thing today, I thought, let's just stop for a second. I want to recap all the stuff I've done, because before it gets finished, my gosh, it started several years ago when I ripped up the entire attic floor, which was, yeah, I had a piece. This is what the attic floor was. Anywhere from 8 to 12, a couple of like 14, 16-inch planks, like 12 feet long. That was the entire attic floor. The place is built like a nice barn. The problem was, it was really neat floor, but it was, some of the boards were warped, there were different levels to it, and it was a bit of a hodgepodge up here over 100 or so years since it had been built. So the floor was a little bit wonky, and these rafters are what, like 30, no, they're probably about 24-foot long rafters, 24, roughly. The whole width is about 30, all the way out to the soffits. So, but they're probably 24 or so foot rafters that were honest, rough cut 2x4s. They had some supports out in the ends on every rafter. So having a support every 2 feet was a little bit inconvenient. The rafters are 24-inch on center, except for that one that's like 26. That's the annoying one. That's the one why regular sheet goods won't fit across up there. So I had a wonky floor, I had very long rafters with very little support to them, and I wanted to make this place a lot nicer. So here's what I started with. I pulled up the old subfloor, which got repurposed. It's beautiful wainscoting and trim down in my dining room now. I love it. It comes up a nice bright red. I cleaned it, I brushed it off, polyurethane, it looks great. But I ripped the floor off. When I had the way back window out, we set up scaffolding, and I had two guys handing subfloor up to me. So I pulled out all that barn wood and put down regular 4x8 sheets of subfloor, 3/4 inch. Before I laid the subfloor, I leveled all the joists, because the joists are very, very solid, but they've sagged over the years. They have a long span to them. So I went through and I reinforced some of the joists. I shimmed the joists as much as like 2.5 inches in some spots to level the whole floor out so there's no more step in it and no wobbliness to it. And that took a lot of work. But I think it was worth it because this floor is very level now. It's very true. It's not perfect, but it's very good compared to what I started with. So then my goal was to put good storage space in. And I knew I couldn't do storage all the way out the full width because it comes down, you know, the rafters come all the way right down to the attic floor out here. But I wanted to knock out all those little supports, rafter by rafter by rafter. And what I did was I put in kind of like a 2x4 header across, and I put in supports every 4 feet. So every other rafter is directly supported, and the one in between has a very nice heavy piece of Doug fir supporting and holding that up. The roof is very, very true. I jacked them. I leveled the supports. I eyeballed the roof from outside. It's a standing seam metal roof. So I was able to eyeball and make sure that the roof was running very true. I resupported it and did all that. So that left me a space where I was going to put like some half walls and leave storage out there. So I did all that support work, and I now have 4-foot openings. And the scheme I came up with was putting a 4-foot panel over top that's very easy to remove. I talked about that in my last video. So storage is very easy to access. Next thing was getting this place insulated and ventilated. So I ran styrofoam baffles up between those rafters to leave a little air gap, and then I put insulation over top. Of course, 24-inch insulation is not available for like 3.5 inch. So I bought the 6-inch insulation and had to like peel layers apart, and that's why it goes like faced and unfaced and faced and unfaced. It's a mess. Everything up here is custom done. So I have styrofoam baffle, insulation, and then down in the storage area I have 3/4 inch styrofoam to be the finished ceiling in there. And then I put 2-inch styrofoam that comes down vertically to be the back wall. So it's about 24 inches tall, and then it slopes up and out. The storage is about 5 feet deep or so, and the opening in front of each is going to be about 4.5 feet tall or so. Out here, because I want to be nicer, I packed out with some furring strips, and then that was what I was able to put paneling over top of. I was able to put some drywall to start in here. Be more drywall in this room eventually. And that's where that's all at. Let's see, meanwhile, so then the roof was completely untrussed, which made this a big open area, but it needed the support, and then I also put collar ties horizontally across the top. And I was really careful with them because, again, it's a little wonky up there, but they run pretty nice and true. They're level and true end to end, so I was able to start paneling across there. Again, between those collar ties, I put support for canned lights, I put 2-inch styrofoam, I taped off all the joints, it's pretty tight, and so above those collar ties is insulated, and that then is where the ventilation ends. So I have soffit vents that have been put in now, 2-inch soffit vents. I have a couple of 6-inch vents at the end. The styrofoam baffles you can't see anymore, up into the very, very top above the collar ties, and then out the south side we just had installed this summer a vent fan. So eventually that fan's going to go on a thermostat or a timer or a switch or something. But that's going to leave good positive ventilation. I probably didn't need to do that here because this house is pretty naturally ventilated, being like 130 or whatever years old. But I want to make sure that this project is something that'll outlive me. So I think I would have been fine if I didn't ventilate things, but I went through an awful hassle to make that happen. So once the ventilation got finished, I got excited and I really started finishing the fiberglass, doing paneling. I packed out with 3/4 styrofoam on the gable end, and then I framed it out to run wiring, and I put pine, little 3/8 pine tongue and groove across the back. I think it's a really beautiful wall. Getting my outlets and electricity all pulled. Like I said, I got to upgrade some service because I have a really cheesy box over here that's running like 30 amps. for most of the upstairs of my house. I'm going to rerun like 60 amps, break it out into the same circuits, plus heater circuits, plus an air conditioner circuit, split off a circuit for lights and things like that. So that's what we got going up here. And I thought I would just stop a minute while this was still one big open area, semi-open, and talk about some of those statistics of what I've done to bring it where it is. And what am I dealing with here? Like I said, it's about 30 feet wide, 34 feet long. So that end's going to be, what, about 16 feet? And then this end's like 18 feet. The steps come up right behind me over here. So there's steps that come right up the middle of the attic. So when you walk up, you'll be in this room, which will hopefully be like my son's playroom, bookcase, probably a futon, spot for kids to sleep over, and then a doorway that'll go back into, where I'll keep some of my music stuff, and where I'll be back there having a little room for some other fun projects I do like that. But anyway, I hope that was interesting and a bit of an update. If you're following the project, that's where we're at now, and I'm getting pretty excited. I hope you enjoyed the artwork I had. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of like knowing what it took me to get here, because I am definitely not a contractor or a builder, but I managed to get by a little bit. It takes me a long time, and I probably sometimes overanalyze things. I have to adopt that mindset where getting something done is better than having something perfect. I have a hard time with that in my house, especially sometimes. So I just want to get it done, right? And I want it to be nice, and it is nice. But maybe if I don't know, you have questions about, how do you figure the angle of the roof if you don't know what it is? You have questions about how do you make those storage spaces, questions about whatever. Or you have a comment, or you see something stupid in here you want to tell me. Whatever it might be. Like, share, comment, subscribe, whatever all that nonsense is, if you're into this kind of stuff and you think what I'm doing is cool. I'm trying to make sure I keep a little bit of a track of my progress. And I know there's a few people that watch once in a while and they get interested in what I'm doing. So that's where I'm at right now. Life has been busy and crazy, but I think I'm in the right place to be making some good progress here. That's it for now. Take care.